हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू माय चैनल। आज हम करेंगे सोशल एंड पॉलिटिकल सर्कमस्टांसेस ऑफ द रेनेसां। We have already noted how the permeation of the currents of the Renaissance into English culture was both mediated and tempered by the forces of the Reformation that had already found root in England. Both forces of the Renaissance and of the Reformation served to substantially reorganize English society. In the 15th century, England had primarily an agrarian and feudal social economic structure, with much of the population living in the rural countryside, many as tenants to country squire and noble lords. However, repeated epidemics of the plague had substantially affected the population, which as a consequence hardly grew in this period. The shortage of labor proved a blessing to many peasants who managed to sell their labor at a premium and eventually to rise above their class and form a new class of landed folk called yeomen or small farmers. Many large landholders converted their land into sheep pasture because of the lack of labor, leading to land enclosures and the abandonment of many villages. This in turn led to the dramatic development of the wool industry. The popularity of the pastoral as a genre and of the figure of the shepherd in Renaissance English poetry then is not entirely because of either classical influences or of biblical ones, but derived from the English social landscape itself. But the period also saw the growth of London as a commercial and political city, with the new classes and the redistributed populations seeking employment, commercial gains, and political power gradually settling in the city. A part of the new social constituents were guilds of artisans and craft people whose services were becoming increasingly important in catering to the needs of the growing populace. The the emergence of these mixed social sectors was an early part of the larger process of the dismantling of the feudal economy that was to culminate with the consolidation of industrial capitalism in the 19th century. As yet, though, they were still constrained by the social and economic parameters of that economy. The the migrant to London in this century were thus mainly seeking social and economic uplift as well as acceptability in a feudal socio-economic system that barely recognized them. They became a ready constituency for proselytizing. Proselytizing होता है converting Protestant groups who not only converted their beliefs but through promoting literacy gave them access to educational possibilities that had remained outside their reach till now. But in doing so, it also spread the sense of tension that we noted above between the humanist education they had access to and the conservative reformist morality of the new religious movements. This tension was compounded by monarchical changes and the consequent changes in affiliations from Henry VIII Anglicanism to Henry VI rigid Protestantism to Mary Tudor's Catholicism to Elizabeth I's return to Anglicanism and so on. मतलब Henry VIII Anglicanism, Edward VI Protestantism, Mary Tudor Catholicism and Elizabeth First जो है Anglicanism. But these vacillations means uncertainties जो है ना या vacillate जो कर रहे हैं were substantially diffused in their impact on literature and culture primarily because of an emergent English nationalist spirit. जब इतिहास चेंज होता है ना किसी कंट्री का, तो लिटरेचर भी चेंज होता है, यही बोल रहे हैं ये. दिस नेशनलिस्ट सेंटिमेंट हेल्ड टुगेदर एट द कल्चरल level despite the political tensions that arose out of diverse and changing religious affiliations. It rejected much that was uh, Italianate है ना, इटली से रिलेटेड है, इन द रेनिसा, promoting an Englishness of vision and ideals that was aimed at positioning English literature and art as superior to the rest of Renaissance Europe. Now ये brackets में दिया है, it is no coincidence that many of the playwrights of the period set their comedies and satires, whether it was Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice and John's Volpone in Italy, implying to their English audiences that the vices vices and venalities होता है corruptness, satirized in the plays were the illnesses of the specifically Italianate character. This ideological rejection permitted the English writer of the period to import form, genre, style, and themes from the continent, but also to experiment with them, fully nativizing them by fusing them with the existing traditions of English literature, subjecting them to the specificities of the rapidly evolving English language, and infusing them with the moral and social vision of English Anglicanism. Nevertheless, several of the main elements of the European Renaissance, which did not conflict with Protestant ideals or even enhanced them, did find their way into and become a entrenched means established part of the new literature of England. The celebration of the human spirit and intellect was one such element. A related and for us more pertinent element was the celebration of the art, especially of skills in writing and rhetoric, the cultivation of which was now considered of signal importance, especially to the governing classes, into which Spencer made his way. This was now a part of the education of these classes, and Spencer too was to avail of it at his grammar school as well as subsequently at Cambridge University. We will now examine briefly how this skill and knowledge in the art was an important aspect of court life in Renaissance England, and what the consequent relations were of poets to the monarch and the court. Thank you so much. Next video में we are going to do courtier poets and court politics.